All right. Well, from one cognitive discussion to another, there's been a lot of news this last week over Joe Biden and his age and his ability to run the country for the next 4 years. I want to say, I mean, is it legitimate? Sure. Is some of it, maybe a lot of it, really bogus? Yeah. Is a lot of it that's coming from people that I didn't expect annoying? 100%. But let's start real quick. There was a report last week after Joe Biden, for some reason, took home some classified documents.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big investigation. There was a special counsel that was appointed to that case. His name was Robert Hur, and Robert Hur was somebody that has been appointed by Donald Trump. And he did his report. And unlike most special counsels who just write the report as to whether or not they were guilty or not guilty, he decided to inject some of his own opinions or some of the things in the report that made huge news. And part of that is that Joe Biden had a hard time remembering the year his son died. And that basically made it sound like the reason why we can't prosecute him is because Joe Biden will present himself as an old man who just can't remember things, a likable old man, whatever he said, that can't remember things. And of course, the press and the media picked that up and bombed him all week, saying, see, we told you this guy can't be president. Lana, fair? Not fair?
It's stupid. I mean, right. But we knew that this was going to happen. One, we know that Hur is a Trump god.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that Hur had nothing on Biden. So that's the big picture. There was, as Cruz would say, a nothing burger.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. But he had to give Trump and the Republicans something that they could like hang their hats on. So he gave them that so they can continue with that stupid narrative, because that stuff does not go in that kind of report. That's the background information. It's almost like when we do depositions, right? And then we like file a motion for summary judgment to the judge. The things that will use like the substance and the facts from the depo, but you're not going to say, yeah, the deponent was picking their nose the whole time I spoke with them. Right. You're not putting that in there. Like, that's just for the background. That's for us to get an idea of who this character is. So of course not. And that's ridiculous. And he didn't get any older or any younger. Like, what is happening? He's just freaking old until his next birthday, and then he's going to be a year older. I don't understand what the conversation is. He doesn't have to lift weights. Like, he's not doing anything physical. He's not doing construction.
That is exactly right. He is not competing for the fucking Olympics, like you said. He is the president of the United States, and as we've talked about this on numerous occasions, one of the most productive presidents, maybe the most productive president of my lifetime in just 3 years. Right. The things that have been passed during his presidency, let's say you disagree with all of them and you hate all of them. Right. It doesn't matter. Right. Presidents don't get this kind of stuff passed. Right. This amount of stuff passed in this short amount of time. It just doesn't happen.
Right. And let's be realistic and be real. We understand Biden is old and Biden is going to forget things.
Mm-hmm.
We all forget things.
Yeah.
He travels a lot. He does a lot. But that is why he has an administration. That's why all presidents have administrations, because there's no way in the world that you would remember all of the things and all of the presidents and all of the you can't right, you can't. There's some basic knowledge that you have to have about every continent. Like once they tell you, here, this is where we are, here's a president, certain things need to start coming up into your head, but you're just not going to remember that stuff. That is why you have all these people who work for you and work around. Biden is not crafting, like he's not crafting all of this stuff. Like you have an administration that helps you through it. The problem with Trump is, and Trump's age, he's an old ass. He also is going to have a fucked up administration with My Pillow guy and Laura Trump and the rest of these clowns.
Alina Habba.
Right. People who don't know what they're doing on top of him not knowing what he's doing. And I always have to remind people, Joseph Biden is a whole attorney. Like, so he didn't start being some idiot dummy. He started with a degree. He's been in the Senate. He's been a vice president. He's been doing this. Trump has been a failed businessman with bankruptcies and lawsuits under his belt. That's what he comes to the table with. And that is what MAGA support.
He bankrupted 3 casinos, which I'm just telling you is nearly impossible.
But they look at him saying he can fix the economy. The person who's bankrupting and is in court right now about to lose the ability to have a business in the state of New York.
Well, if you read I know you don't, but we did a clip like that last week. And if you read the comments again, you just got to deal with people who are just going to defend anything Donald Trump does. Everything is just, he's a victim of everything. This one guy's angry. They're definitely getting that thrown out of court because there were no victims in the case. And I just said, well, I mean,
excuse me?
Well, I mean, technically, if you want to look at it, there were no victims because apparently he paid the bills back. He did everything, but he did fraud the banks. And whether or not the banks were in on it or they allowed whatever the fuck it was, that's up to them. But you know what? A non-victimless crime doesn't mean anything. What if I got drunk and I drove all the way home and got ready to pull into my driveway and a cop was there and saw me swerving? I didn't hit anybody. Can I use the non-victim excuse that I got home? And, it doesn't work that way. When you fraud banks to make money off of it, it's just, you can't do that. I mean, you can't.
But there are victims because they have to put that cost that they lost on someone. And then it's just the ordinary person. It's just like insurance companies. I recall there was a year, I don't know, in the neighborhood or South Shore here, there were like a string of robberies just everywhere. Do you know insurance companies start raising their premiums on people? Like, I'm like, what the hell is this? You call up, they're like, it's a string of robberies. So they raise it. So we're the victims, right? You can say, who are the victims to the robbery? No, we all are, that had our premiums raised because of it.
Somebody is going to be victimized. You're right. I mean, at some point when there is fraud involved, there is a victim somewhere. So, again, it's just the blind defending of a guy that just laughs at them. But back to Biden, we talked about his age. And we already knew this was an issue, but where it's becoming an issue is not just the Republicans using it as fodder to get them to try to get people to vote for Donald Trump. It's coming a lot from people on the left now, which is really concerning me because we could do a couple things here. We can continue to say this. I don't know if you saw it, but Jon Stewart made his return back to The Daily Show the other night, and I was so excited for it. I very rarely watch any programming as it's on. I usually record it and watch it later, but that night I knew I had to watch it as it was on because I was so excited that he was back. And basically 80% of the show was him bashing Biden's age. And I'm just like, man, it's really disappointing that it's coming from Jon Stewart. Now, listen, I want to make something clear. I'm not against anybody's opinion on Biden's age. If you were to ask me, I'm assuming if you ask Lana, and Lana can speak for herself, if you asked, are you concerned about his age? I mean, if somebody said, yeah, nobody's going to go, you're an idiot. You suck. I hate you.
Right.
You know, that's not the point.
Right.
The point is that Joe Biden is going up against somebody. And what disappointed me in Jon Stewart's little monologue, especially towards the end, is basically saying that no matter what happens, if Trump wins, if Biden wins, America is going to be okay. Well, there's a lot of people in this country that don't believe that that is true if Donald Trump wins. And I can't believe Jon Stewart said that. And that bothered me. So I hope he's not going down, and I'm let you talk here in a second because obviously
I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I hope he doesn't go down the same, because the same reason why I had to turn off Bill Maher. And it was a slow drip with Bill Maher. I loved Bill Maher. I have actually seen him live 5 different times. He was one of my favorite people to listen to. And then he became everything was anti-woke, anti-mask, anti-vaccine, everything. And I'm like, okay, I can listen to 1 or 2 shows like that. Then it became 3rd show, 4th show, 5th show, 6th show, 7th. And at some point, I'm like, all right, I've heard enough. I don't need to hear this anymore. So I moved on from him. Hope I don't have to do the same with Jon Stewart. But it's really disappointing because it's an issue, sure. But let's look at the big picture here. The fact that you're spending 80% on Joe Biden's age, and we're acting and almost forgiving Donald Trump's age. We're forgiving his mental acuity. And maybe we're forgiving it because when he says it, it sounds entertaining. When Joe says it, it just sounds like he's an old man and he's losing it. But when Trump says it, it's still kind of funny. So, we can maybe listen to that and not compare it the same way we compare it to Joe Biden's age. I have no idea.
No, that's exactly what it is, because Trump is buffoonish.
Yeah.
He's always like he's doing some type of sideshow.
But why do we forgive that?
I don't know. He can't even stand straight on the lectern. He's always bent over at this point. Like, it's a mess. And like, what's disappointing about Jon Stewart is that he fought to get that burn pit bill, veterans health care expanded, and Biden signed that.
Yeah.
So, like, was he too old then to fight side by side with you with this? And then, but see, this is why you can't, cape for celebrities and think they're always going to do the right thing. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's about the ratings,
which sucks. And I really hope that's not Jon Stewart's thought. And I if you're asking me, I still don't think that that's his thought, but you're right on the right track.
I would say America, whether it's Trump or Biden, America would be okay. That seems to me that you're riding the line. Like, you don't want to get the Republicans upset, the MAGAs, because you kind of want them to view you too. Like, you just don't want a show of just liberals. You want everyone. So you have to kind of be in the middle there. I don't know that. That's wild to me, because America is not going to be okay. Have you not paid attention to what this man is talking about? Do you want? Yeah, they're both old, right? Someone said this the other day. They're both old. If Biden is having a bad day as an old man, he may fall off of his bike. If Donald Trump is having a bad day as an old man, he may go and do some type of nuclear blast and we're all dead. It's like, it's not.
We also have to take into account, if Joe Biden's bad day, like you said, is falling off the bike or maybe stumbling over his words, we're also completely just discounting that Donald Trump's worst day, maybe he might be sitting in a fucking prison. I mean, why are we just comparing these two? Am I losing my mind? Is there something wrong with me?
It's just because people are so visual. It's a crazy thing. Joe Biden looks like somebody's old great grandfather, and that is why you don't know what the hell Trump looks like, because Trump is orange. We don't know. We don't know. Like, right. He's a master of hiding all of those things. His gullet. Yeah. All of it. He is ready he thinks he's ready for TV. He looks a mess, but he does a better job of hiding that kind
lying about his own weight.
He's sweating. It's just,
And when he knows he's doing it, then he blames it on, the lighting or the heat in there. And he's like, everybody points out that when I'm sweating. But, Donald Trump has lost his fucking mind too. In fact, we talked about this. I'll go clip for clip with anybody over the last, say, 2 months, 3 months. I can pull up so many clips of Donald Trump getting confused about so many things more than Joe Biden. Now, in fairness, maybe people will say, well, Donald Trump's out there way more than Joe Biden is. So, of course, you're going to find more clips than
But
Trump
is
and
he
Biden.
really?
People keep saying he's hiding. I see him in a fucking press conference. As soon as that report came out, he went right out to the press and answered questions, and to me, did just fine.
He's literally working. He's
Right.
traveling. He's working. They just had the descendants of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Emmett Till, all of these Black descendants at the White House. He's doing shit.
Yeah.
He's not hiding. He's actually doing some things.
I would like to also point out, too, that I love Jon Stewart. I think he's one of the best in the game, and I will continue to watch and listen to him. And like I said, I hope he doesn't go down this hole that like Bill Maher did and these other guys. But I do want to point out that, you see a lot of people on Twitter or whatever, and they're like, the left lost Jon Stewart. I want to make one thing clear.
What?
As what I feel as an intelligent human being, I'm not, just because Jon Stewart says something and I like him, I'm just going to go, wow, maybe Jon Stewart is right. I know what I think. I know exactly how I think and why I think it. I'm not going to change my mind because Jon Stewart is on TV saying Biden's old and maybe I should rethink my position. I know exactly what the fuck I think, and I know why the fuck I think it.
Right. Good point. Because if that was Tucker Carlson,
yep,
they just don't do that kind of thing.
Yep.
Well, actually, if he talked about Trump, maybe they would cancel him because it's just about Trump.
Well, you can't find Tucker now because he's over in Russia.
Yeah, he's got a new friend.
Being a little bitch boy for Vladimir Putin. I saw one clip. I refuse to watch that. But he's also too, he's talking, and Vladimir Putin said, hey, little boy, shut the fuck up while I'm talking. I know you're like an entertainer kind of guy, but when I'm talking, just be quiet kind of thing. And Tucker just like, okay. And but
you see, Tucker was afraid. I'm sure he was afraid the whole time going over there because you dumb fuck. Putin can just hold your ass hostage, but you're not worth shit, so he didn't.
Well, the funniest part about that is why Tucker Carlson did that. Part of the reason why he did that is because he's an irrelevant little bitch boy right now. Nobody's paying attention to him. Nobody knows where to find this fucking guy. So he's got to find a way to keep his name in the news. He's not on an 8 o'clock slot on Fox News anymore. So he's got to find some way where people are still paying attention to him. And, pathetic.
See, I think it's deeper.
Well, I think it's part of it. But hey, if you got deeper thoughts, then
Yeah, it's too much of a coincidence for me that Tucker Carlson went to Russia, that Tommy Tuberville is now saying that, basically Putin is on his game. America's the one with the propaganda. What else did he say about America caused Russia to invade Ukraine, just all while there are hostages in Russia. Like Tucker Carlson is there and we have a hostage there.
Right.
That crazy.
Actually, you're right. There is a bigger picture here, and he's part of the propaganda machine that is trying to spread throughout this country that Russia really isn't as bad as these guys are saying. I don't understand why we want to hate Russia so badly.
Right.
It's
right. And
we're in a bizarre time in this country.
Saying that you have our House Republican lawmakers saying that. And then another coincidence today with the breaking news of the national security threat, which is the Russian bill. Like that's not, it's not a coincidence, right?
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, the national security threat, I think, is that Russia wants to send nuclear missiles up into space, and what I didn't read much beyond that because it actually didn't happen that much before we went on the air, or at least before when I saw it. So, but I know that's sort of the gist of it. So, based on what you're saying, is right. But we have a couple clips here that I want to play. This is Alexandria Ocasio. Alexandria
AOC.
Ocasio-Cortez. Yes, AOC. I wanted to use her full name.
I know. I can't say it. I don't follow.
But she was on with Jake Tapper today, and now she is a progressive. And this is the reason why I want to play this, because progressives too are really starting to irritate me. They are what I think some people have referred to as the blue MAGA. They are, these people who just think there's a magic wand that solves everything, and that this should be doing this and that should be doing that. And if not, they're just going to completely and again, I'm not a criticism's okay, but here's AOC, who is a progressive. She's as progressive as they get. This is her talking about the election. This is her talking about Biden. And the reason why I believe she is doing this, even though I think she doesn't love Joe Biden, I don't think that that's her ideal candidate. I believe AOC sees the bigger picture. So let's see what she has to say.
Any concerns about his age? Do you have any concerns about whether or not he should be the nominee?
I mean, I think right now, when it comes to the president's age, folks are talking about how he's 81, but we have to look at, first of all, Donald Trump is around the same age as
77,
president.
yeah.
He's 77 years old. They could have gone to high school together.
Pretty
And beyond that, Donald Trump has 91 indictments. And
exactly.
What I know who I'm going to choose. It's going to be one of the most successful presidents in modern American history that passed the Inflation Reduction Act, that got us the American Rescue Plan, that ensured that we could pass one of the largest federal investments in climate change in U.S. history. And as far as we go, as we know, virtually all the filing deadlines have passed. There's already been a primary. Voters have outright rejected Dean Phillips. President Biden is going to be the Democratic nominee, and hopefully he'll be reelected as president of the United States.
Are you worried about at all?
That's exactly how everybody who does believe that there is a danger of Donald Trump being president, that's how you address it. I will guarantee you, if we sat down with AOC in private and she wanted to say everything she had to say, wouldn't be that positive about Joe Biden. But first of all, she's exactly right. Why are we ignoring this man's accomplishments? Why?
Right. And talking about age, what the hell? Like, what do you want him to do already?
I just don't get it. But I do hear progressives. They are so annoying with this age things. There's a guy, cenkuygur from the Young Turks. He's on there every day, and everybody, they're all on there. And there was another woman, I can't remember her name, Nina. No, not Nina. Shoot, I can't remember her name. But they're, if Jon Stewart offended you, then I'm like, it's not about Jon Stewart offending me. I don't. Jon Stewart can say whatever he wants. cenkuygur can say whatever the fuck he wants. The lady I'm talking about can say whatever she wants. It's fine. But we're in a battle for democracy here. And again, the other thing, you and I have talked about this before, Donald Trump wins the presidency. Then you have the Clarence Thomases to say, fuck, I can finally get out of here and retire. And then you put somebody in 40 years younger than him. Who else is on there that could retire? Roberts could retire. You have a lot of older Republicans on there that could say, fuck it, I'm finally going to retire, and let Donald Trump put in 2 or 3 more.
Right. And that's why what Jon Stewart said is so dangerous.
Yeah.
And people thinking like that, it's so dangerous, because you brought up a good point. The Supreme Court, they could put some young cats in there. It'd be Eileen Cannon up in there. In the Supreme Court. We can't.
It could be Laura Trump. It could be, who the fuck knows who we'd put in there.
Do not correct that. do you think they're not going to do a national abortion ban? We keep saying that. We can't lose sight of that. That is, they said it. They've already announced it. They're going to try to do that.
Well, that's I was telling you about the girl I met the other day. She's from Ohio, and she was talking. We were talking, and she says, I still don't understand it. She goes, socially, I'm a Democrat, but for money and for finances, I have to vote Republican. And not to mention, Joe Biden doesn't remember anything. He doesn't remember the guy that died and mention his name. So there's no way I can vote for that.
No, that was Trump.
I know. It didn't even matter because at some point I'm talking to a brick fucking wall. But she had mentioned something about the abortion thing. She goes, "Well, I live in Ohio, and we already voted that they're not doing an abortion ban." I said, "But if there's a federal one, your stupid little law in Ohio means nothing."
Nothing.
So,
And then they would do all the little tricks that they do to take it apart, right? Like, even if it's not really a ban, a federal abortion ban, they'll like get rid of the morning after pill, or like there'll just be something, abortion pills will be gone. Like, they're going to make sure that it's difficult even for the states that it's legal in.
And that's just the beginning. I mean, you want to talk about you want to try to have sensible gun laws. Forget that. That's done. There's, everything that, Democrats, or really just, I forget about Democrats, even independents, the people who really want the country to thrive and be good and be decent. We rank so low in so many important categories, which is unbelievable. Child mortality, education, all these different things that we rank so low in, that American people are saying, I get it when they say, when are we going to do stuff for us, which we should, but we're spending the money in the wrong ways. And we're also putting people in the office who are care about one thing and one thing only, that millionaires and billionaires become trillionaires. And that's all they care about.
Right.
AOC had something else to say. This time she addressed Donald Trump. This sounded like a good interview. There was 2 clips. I wanted to play this one by her too as well.
Trump is elected president of the United States. We do not know if there will be a verifiable next election that has integrity. He already tried to, we saw on January 6th, he tried to overturn the results of a presidential election by force, by inciting a riot. And I think we need to be very, very realistic about the grave impacts of a Donald Trump election. It is not a joke. It is not a game.
No.
Yeah. And that's the other point of it too, is that Donald Trump is not some guy that if we vote him in, it's kind of like, all right, well, let's just see what this guy does and let's cross our fingers and hope, that things go okay. We already saw what he did. We saw what this guy will do.
I think they're forgetting. We have to remind them. They got to be forgetting what he was. There's no way. That's why sometimes I'll post a clip of people dancing in the street when he lost, because y'all forgot.
Well, it's so funny when people bring up, they're like, there's no way Joe Biden won because I didn't see any flags flying, or I didn't see any hats or t-shirts. But what I did saw is that when Joe Biden won in the midst of a pandemic, there were people in the streets. And if you want to call it hypocritical, you can call it hypocritical, but forget about that. Because the point is that there were more people in the middle of a pandemic. Forget if the pandemic wasn't happening, the streets would have been packed. Imagine losing a presidency and there are people out on the streets celebrating like it was New Year's Eve. I've never seen that before.
That was the worst 4 years ever. And I can just imagine. Measles is on the rise. Imagine a Trump presidency. Polio is going to be back. Measles, all the things, because they will change the laws where you don't have to be vaccinated going into school. Stop playing.
Well, more MAGA people will be dying. So, I mean,
it's a shame.
It is a shame. Shame. I saw DA's got another comment. I'll read that after I play this clip. David Jolly, he was a Democratic strategist as well. This is how he thinks, of course, everybody's talking about Biden's age. This is how he thinks that Democrats should approach the upcoming election from this point on.
race about competency and ideology. Because look, on competency, Donald Trump didn't tell the world to inject bleach into their veins because he's old.
Right.
He did it because he's an idiot. So talk
Right.
about that. Talk
Right.
about the competency of the two candidates compared to age, because age has not limited Joe Biden. Think about it. Sure, he looks old, but has it limited his presidency? Has it limited his ability to lead? Absolutely not. Ask the critics for evidence of that.
Betsy Woodruff Swan, Harry Littman, thank you both so much.
Facts.
Lays it out. I mean, what are we doing? Like, why do I have to be so concerned about Joe Biden? Let's go back to Jon Stewart's point that everything will be okay. Okay, if that's the case, then if something happens to Joe Biden during his presidency, then I'm assuming we'll still be okay because we have a vice president that will take over. So what's the worst case scenario if Joe Biden wins and something happens to where for some bizarre reason you might want to go on your little TV shows or podcasts and celebrate that you were right the whole time? I don't know what that gets you, but
Right.
what's the worst? What's the worst case that can happen? We know what the worst case could happen with Donald Trump, but with Joe Biden, something happens to him. What's the worst case? What happens? What's
Right.
so terrible?
Right.
I mean, do we really think that Joe Biden's going to be sitting there and Russia's going to start a war with us and he's just going to be looking around and having no idea where he's at and we're not going to know what to do and Russia's going to bomb us and we're all going to die? I mean, I don't understand
Right.
what the ramifications are going to be if Joe Biden wins again. What are the ramifications? What are the problems that we're going to have?
Right. What does the old mean? Like you keep saying he's old, like you mean you're afraid he's going to die, break a leg, break a hip.
Say something dumb, lose his mind, whatever the case.
Need dentures. Like, what's the problem? Lose his
Lana,
hair?
Here's the bottom line. I would vote for fucking Kermit the Frog over Donald Trump. I'd vote for any fucking Muppet. Whatever Muppet, Miss Piggy or Animal or Beaker. I would vote for any Muppet. And I'm not even talking about the Muppet
hilarious.
with the guy's hand in his ass. I'm talking, it could be the Muppet with nobody even controlling it, just laying there. That's who I would vote for over Donald Trump.
That's funny. My show is called Putin's Sock Puppets, and I have puppets. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I'd vote for that sock puppet over Donald Trump. So I don't care. Joe Biden can be in the most mental decline I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter to me. I'm voting for Donald Trump. Am I looking dead in the camera? I'm voting for Donald Trump, fucking period. Doesn't matter. I don't care.
You're voting for Donald Trump?
Is that what I said?
Yeah. Yeah. You're
All right,
gonna have to delete
I gotta go
that.
to the edit button.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And you looked into the camera and you said, I don't care. I'm voting for Donald Trump. Fuck that.
Fuck.
I'm like, huh?
I was on a roll too, and I just destroyed that. Damn it. I'm voting for Joe Biden, period.
Exactly. You had to do it over now. So
Yeah.
when you delete that one, you can.
Well, we did it. I did it live. There's nothing I can do to take it back. So here's what we can do. We can go to DA's comment here and get off my stupidity. Donald Trump spoke about raking the forest and nuking a hurricane, and they want to talk about Biden's cognitive decline. I mean, that's, again, we could sit here all day and do this, all day long and do this. And we can, as I said, we can go clip for clip. We can do all this shit. The fact that we're ignoring Donald Trump's cognitive decline and forget about his cognitive decline. Let's say he's perfect. Let's say he's got zero cognitive decline. I would take Joe Biden's cognitive decline over the well-speaking Donald Trump, who says everything that he said back in 2016, 17, 18, 19, whenever before his real cognitive decline started. I'm still taking Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, Reed, what is that thing that what is it called? Where the Republicans have the whole thing outlined of what they plan to
Project
do? 25?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Y'all need to read that because Trump's not gonna remember all the things he wants to do, but it's in Project 25, everything outlined. They want to fire federal workers like that are not loyal to Republicans. So
let's make clear too, by the way, Donald Trump doesn't understand one fucking thing that's in there. That was written by somebody like Steve Bannon or that
Oh,
wacky
absolutely.
Stephen Miller dude.
Right.
You know, and they just kind of give Donald Trump the bullet points so he can go out there and spew it in front of
Right.
his stupid audience. But yeah, I mean, it's time to take this serious. And so when I do hear the Jon Stewarts of the world and the Cenkuygurs and everybody else that's on the left, and they want to make the point that Joe Biden is old, then just do me one favor. If this is so important to you, then on every show, every day, I want you to go out there and just demand that Joe Biden is not our nominee. Demand it every day. But if you don't, then just shut the fuck up and move on. Move on to why. Figure out who you want to vote for, and then you can say that on your shows, whether it's Joe Biden, Donald Trump, a third-party candidate. Just do that. But the Biden age thing, we get it. He's been old for a while now. We get it.
Yeah.
Tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to deter me from voting for him
No.
for a second.
No.